Assalamualaikum everyone. I hope that you're doing well. Today I wanted to discuss about anxiety. A lot of people around me who suffer from anxiety, they don't even know that they have it. So this is the where I explain the symptoms from my own experience and of course from some general data that I have taken from different sources. Anyway, let's start. So, let's talk about what anxiety is. Anxiety is actually a normal feeling in your body that is a body's built in warning system, and it just warns you that something may be wrong. Okay, in sometimes it is very much essential, and at some point, especially when we were in the stone ages and we did not have proper housing and we were not properly protected as human beings, this was very, very essential for our survival. Like when you see a bear and you know that it's running after you and it's gonna try to oof you. So in that times anxiety is absolutely essential because your survival is dependent on it. But when you apply the same anxiety to every event of your life, especially when you're surrounded by people who might be explosively angry or emotionally explosive people. So if you're around these people, or there's an exam coming up, or any kind of condition that is coming up that may cause some sort of fear or some sort of uncertainty associated with it, then if you have anxiety with all of these things, then that is not normal and that is not healthy, and that is what actually causes a lot of your problems, like we're gonna see. Okay, when we have in small amounts of anxiety, it is perfectly healthy and normal, and it actually helps you stay alert. For example, if you're gonna stand up and speak in front of a lot of people, if you're sleepy and very relaxed, then you won't be able to do it properly. You'd need some sort of boost, some sort of energy, and anxiety is what gives you that energetic boost. But if you are running on it all the time, then it is going to drain you. When you have too much anxiety, it is going to hurt your body and your mind. So, what are the common symptoms? First thing you're going to notice in your body is fast heartbeat. Your chest is going to tighten up, and there may be some stomach pains, like the pains that you have in your stomach when you need to go and relieve yourself. And there is some muscle tension also. And in the mind, there is racing thoughts, there is trouble focusing. And if you suffer from OCD as well, then that worsens these conditions that are already existent because of the anxiety. There is always worry about the future, and you kind of feel unsafe because all of this is rooted in fear. So, because we are not very much able to deal with fear, all of us humans, we don't really deal well with it. So, if you don't know how to deal with this, then you are going to have anxiety problems. Okay, let's talk about the gut brain connection and where our video is actually coming into its heart. Okay, so the thing is, as you know, the brain and gut are always talking to each other. The brain sends some signals to the gut, and then that gut carries them out. And sometimes the gut sends signals to the brain, and then the brain then signals other systems about it. Okay. So the brain and gut send messages to each other all day long. And what they use actually is this connection is called the gut brain axis. And, the vagus nerve is basically the messages receiver and carrier. This is like the phone line, direct line between the brain and gut. And anxiety, how it's going to affect the gut. When you are worried or stressed, your brain is going to send a stress signal to your gut. Okay. Your gut is now going to become upset. You will have pain, nausea, bad digestion. Because what is happening right now is when you're stressed, when you're tired, when you are worried, when you're afraid, the brain is going to send some signal to the gut. The gut motility is going to speed up because of the stress hormones that just, went up. And it is going to upset your stomach, causing pain, nausea, bad digestion. And then your gut is going to send signal back to the brain, and then you're going to feel more anxious, and then again your brain is going to send signal to your gut. So you see how the cycle is running over and over again. And when you are constantly under stress, when you are constantly having anxiety, and because of that anxiety you're having gut problems, and the gut problems are causing more anxiety, so over and over again the cycle goes on until you intervene. And by intervention I mean you have to intervene at both level. If you are just going to treat your gut, which 90% of the people do, the anxiety is not going to go down and the gut is not going to heal unless you deal with both of these conditions. So A lot of people, including myself, we have anxiety with the added bonus of OCD. Now, what this means is anxiety is basically just worry about real life situations or future event that may or may not happen. And it has broad shifting concerns. You don't stay stuck on the same thing for a long time. There are physical symptoms involved like racing heart, restlessness, and you don't really need rituals to feel better. But that's not the case in OCD. In OCD, there are intrusive and unwanted thoughts. A lot of thoughts that you're having when you have OCD, they just, pop up out of nowhere. And it leads to repeated rituals or behaviors. Now, this is something that was very shocking to me because this is what kept me from thinking that I might not have OCD. But what I do have is the O part of it. I do have a lot of obsessive thoughts, but I do not have a lot of rituals. I have some, but not to the level that I can be labeled as OCD just because of the rituals that I'm doing. But primarily, I am the O part, which is obsessive thoughts. Okay. And then anxiety is a secondary symptoms because of this OCD. So the people with OCD, they have slightly different brains. The normal people, our thought patterns, our brain structure, they don't really work like normal people's do. So if your people are around you telling you to just, breathe, to stop thinking about it, that is like the worst advice you can give to somebody who has OCD, because I myself suffer from it. So if you're telling yourself to not think about something, what your brain is going to do is think exactly about the thing that you're telling it to not think about. Okay. So the only way is to ignore it and to think about something else instead. Like what I would do is you can watch a lot of Netflix and stuff, and you shift your attention away from what is happening, away from the thoughts. You don't try to control your thoughts. Instead, you create a controlled distraction. The more you focus on this distraction, the more easily you'll be able to bypass your OCD in the long run. It is going to take a long time. It's not something that happens overnight, because all of your life, whatever your age is, you have had OCD and your thoughts are out of control and they're not going to get into control like instantly. But when you keep shifting your focus over to something else, when there are constant distractions from your primary OCD, your brain is going to give you some small windows in which you start to see that your OCD has started to diffuse a little bit. So this has really worked for me. And if you really need, instructions on it, then just WhatsApp me and I'll help you out directly, because I know OCDs can be very, very difficult to deal with. Okay. Sometimes the thoughts that you have in OCD, they feel like unwanted and against one's values. Like you would have some thoughts that go against your religion, that go against value, and it's very weird. Having OCD is not something that is easily explainable. Anybody who suffers from OCD, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So OCD is like a stuck fear that demands some rituals in most cases, and anxiety is like a constant background worry. So, when I started learning about these things, about, mind sciences, about how our brain works, about how our thoughts work, they the people that taught me, they always used to say that our mind can hold only one thought at any moment. But with OCD, that is not exactly true. You can have something running in the background, you have something running in the foreground while you're thinking about something else and also calculating something else. And you know how people say that there are so many tabs open in my brain and I don't know where the music is coming from? Well, with OCD, we know exactly the number of tabs that are open and we know exactly where the sound is coming from. So it's different for us. So don't try to let normal people tell you what is normal for them. You need to find things that are normal for you and that help you. Okay. So next thing is I want to discuss anxiety and weight. No, there are two things. People with anxiety either gain a lot of weight and they don't find it easy to lose weight, which is majority of our population now. But previously, myself included, people used to lose weight a lot and were unable to gain a lot of weight even though they ate quite well. So what happens is stress hormones, because of anxiety, when you have stress hormones, they are going to raise appetite for sugary foods. So when you are in a flight or flight response, when your body is in survival mode, what you primarily crave is sugary and fatty foods, because they raise your energy immediately, and that's what the body is looking for when it is in survival response. Okay. So emotional eating happens because of, because there is anxiety and you're trying to calm yourself down. So there's going to be emotional eating. There could be lower activity in some people. Other people, because of anxiety, they are get this energetic boost, and they get a lot done because of the energy that anxiety has given them. Okay. And disrupted sleep is going to change your metabolism. Now sleep is never going to be normal if you have anxiety, and OCD is obviously going to make it worse. So weight loss, sometimes what happens is you start to get nausea because of these anxiety conditions in your body, and you start to skip meals, and there is loss of appetite. And when you're in constant fight or flight, it is going to raise metabolism. A lot of energy is already released from your body, so it doesn't matter how much you eat, you just cannot tend, you just can't gain weight. And digestive issues are going to reduce nutrient absorption. Why this happens is because you see our intestine has a certain movement speed for the food substances that are in it. So when the food substances move at a normal rate, the intestine has proper time to take out all the nutrients it needs, and whatever it doesn't need gets discarded. Okay. But what happens with anxiety is the intestinal motility is faster, and that is why most of the time you have a diarrhea, and the body is just trying to get rid of whatever food is in the intestine, because it is trying to prepare you for fight or flight mode. So what it does is, because the intestinal contents, whatever food there is in there, they don't really have time to get absorbed into the intestine, into the blood system properly. So what happens is you end up having nutrient malabsorption and nutrient deficiencies. Okay, anxiety and weight, they both come from the gut brain axis, whether you're, higher weight or lower weight, and the stress response. Okay, both these things are responsible for your weight issues when you have them with anxiety. So you need to track your own pattern. Don't let other people dictate it for you. Either you get professional help, or somebody like me who knows what it feels like to be in a body with anxiety and OCD and have like gut related issues. Only people like us will be able to understand people who don't have any background, people who don't understand, people who don't understand anxiety, people who don't have anxiety, people who don't have OCD, people who do not have IBS, do not understand what you're going through. Okay, anxiety as a driver of IBS. When I first started studying nutrition, it was my first year as a nutrition student. So, what I learned about IBS was the primary driver behind IBS is actually anxiety. So, unless you are treating anxiety, IBS is not going to go away. So, in order for a permanent solution to IBS is through healing your anxiety. Okay, anxiety, it disrupts the gut brain axis, the vagus nerve. Microbiome is the microbes that are present in your intestines normally. But because when you are constantly in fight or flight mode, they also alter and they release a lot of gases which get trapped within the intestines. So you see, when you look at the intestine, there are like little folds between the walls of the intestine. Okay, this is where the food moves, and this is the intestine. Now what happens is, because this microbiome, when it gets agitated because of your anxiety, it produces a lot of gas molecules, and they get trapped in, and that leads to bloating. Okay. And of course, the stress signals get disrupted too. Why? Because you are constantly in a stress mode. So how is your body going to know the difference between actual stress and the stress that your anxiety is causing you? So this is like destroying your inner life, really. Okay. So gut motility, like we discussed, the speed at which the contents move, it changes sensitivity. Oftentimes, when you relax, you are able to digest and absorb a lot of foods. But people with anxiety, people especially when they have a anxiety attack, their intestine no longer tolerates a lot of food substances. And inflammation is what we discussed, the swelling of the intestine. And sometimes the inflammation gets so bad that it could lead to bleeding in severe conditions. Okay, so IBS symptoms: pain, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, they all worsen with anxiety. So you see, people who think that IBS and gut do not have anything to do with your anxiety or your brain or your thought patterns, they've got it completely wrong. Okay, the link run both ways. Stress is going to trigger IBS, and IBS is going to fuel more anxiety, and anxiety is going to lead to, again, the stress, and over and over this cycle goes. So the cycle is anxiety signals reach the gut and the gut symptoms appear, which is pain and bloating. And then what happens is these symptoms again are going to heighten the anxiety, okay? And without treating anxiety, IBS is going to keep returning. So you have to break the cycle at some point if you want long-term results. So I'm gonna talk about what I use. So initially, I did get therapy for my own IBS and my own bloating issues, but they kept returning. And the second time when I went into therapy for this purpose, I did not get very good results because not only did my gut motility not normalize, it caused weight gain as well. Okay, so what I used was hypnotic sounds. I was not a believer in these things. I thought that these things are just jokes, they don't really affect you in any way. But these actually worked, and I felt my anxiety, my full flared up anxiety response lowered within 10-15 minutes after listening to these sounds. So all you have to do is listen to these sounds while you are falling asleep, or even when you're asleep, for 10 to 30 minutes depending on, your own personal style, whatever your needs are. That's it. Okay, if you want lasting IBS relief, anxiety needs to be treated or managed. Okay, if you cannot treat IBS without treating anxiety, I know that I keep saying it over and over again because people around me, they're all just trying to treat their IBS without treating their anxiety. That is why it's not working. Okay, some of the techniques I'm gonna share with you right now that you can do with me so you'll be able to feel calm. Okay, so you might have heard of this method. It's called box breathing. Okay, you have to breathe in for 4 seconds. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hold it for 4 seconds. Hold, 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 hold. Now breathe out for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now hold for 4 seconds. And on, you are going to keep doing this until you feel physically relieved. This is the 478 breathing method. You can try this too. You breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. Okay. And what you can do for grounding, because when you have anxiety attack, you're not very grounded at that moment, and this is going to help you. You have to name 5 things you see, 4 things you touch, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. Okay, I'm gonna erase all of this and you can just screenshot it so you can use it in the future. Okay, just take a screenshot. Okay, I hope you're done. Okay, so the next thing is, what you can do is move your body. It is going to help you calm your mind. Why? Because what anxiety does is it traps energy in your body. So you need to release that energy. So it is going to help you calm your mind and break the cycle. Walking lowers the stress hormone and it helps clear your mind. Cold water calms a racing heart fast. A lot of people, when they are trying to sleep, they have anxieties and OCD. Washing your feet with cold water helps a lot. Try this tonight when you're having trouble sleeping. Okay, stretching is going to help release the tight muscles caused by stress. Myself included, many people have some knots and some specific muscles, especially in the neck and the shoulders, which hurt constantly. So stretching is going to help you with that. I actually use physiotherapy, and I use TENS and EMS for that purpose. It helps a lot. Okay. Okay, what happens is with anxiety, you have no idea what you're eating, what you're not eating when you're skipping meal. There is just no proper signal from your gut to the brain that tells you that you're hungry now and you need to eat. So you need to monitor your eating. You need to eat regular meals. Okay, do not skip meals and eat foods with fiber to, keep the gut motility normal, and drink less caffeine. I know that I drink a lot of caffeine because when you have anxiety, a lot of energy is expended. And when you are out of energy, you need more uplift, and then you drink caffeine, and then it leads to more IBS. Okay, don't do that. Drink enough water. Water intake has to be monitored because, like I said, with people with anxiety, we don't really know what we're actually doing. So we need to monitor the essentials of our life. When is the time to get help? When anxiety is stopping your daily life, when you feel anxious most days for a week, when you have panic attacks. Okay. For me, the only difference was I did not used to have panic attacks, but I did feel anxiety most of the days. And most of the people took it as something normal, not something that needed to be treated until I had IBS. And thank you so much for listening. I really like talking about whatever happened so that you don't have to go through whatever happened to me. Okay. I hope this is going to be helpful. And if you have any questions, you can WhatsApp me right now. I can at least tell you if you have a certain level of anxiety that can easily be healed with the hypnosis, or if you have advanced level and that you might need professional help, that in the right direction, I'll be able to point you in the right direction. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.